Think for a moment about the greatest challenges a burgeoning civilization could face. War, famine, natural disaster. For the architects of a magnificent ancient empire, nestled high among the sky-kissed peaks of a distant continent, the answer was a relentless combination of all three, but primarily the sheer brutal difficulty of simply putting food on the table. How do you feed millions when your heartland is thousands of feet above sea level, where the air is thin, the nights are frigid, and the growing season is a constant gamble against an unforgiving environment? How do you ensure prosperity, power, and survival when a single hard frost could wipe out your entire harvest, leaving your people starving? This wasn't just a logistical problem, it was an existential threat. And the solution they engineered wasn't just brilliant, it was revolutionary. It was, quite simply, one of the most audacious acts of agricultural science and ecological mastery ever conceived by humankind. Hidden in plain sight, waiting for centuries to reveal its profound ingenuity, lies an ancient laboratory, a series of monumental, perfectly sculpted terraces that plunge deep into the earth. We call them, for our purposes today, the Sunken Gardens. But these weren't merely pretty landscapes. They were a sophisticated, living, breathing research facility, a grand experiment on a scale we can barely imagine. This isn't just a story about ancient ruins. It's a profound lesson in resilience, innovation, and the enduring power of human ingenuity when pushed to its limits. What you're about to discover will change how you think about our ancestors and their incredible grasp of the natural world. Stay tuned, because the deeper we go into these forgotten bowls of green, the more astonishing the revelations become. Imagine presiding over an empire so immense it stretched for thousands of miles, encompassing everything from sun-baked coastal deserts to humid jungle fringes, and most critically, towering mountain ranges that scraped the very clouds. This was the reality for the High People, the master builders of the Sky Kingdom. Their domain was a tapestry of extremes, a mosaic of ecological zones, each demanding unique solutions. At the very heart of this vast realm lay the highlands, breathtakingly beautiful but brutally challenging. Here, the thin air meant less oxygen, the soils were often poor and rocky, and the sun's intensity was unforgiving. Yet temperatures could plummet below freezing within hours. Frost was a constant, looming threat, a silent assassin capable of obliterating an entire year's food supply overnight. Rainfall was seasonal and often torrential, leading to erosion and landslides if not carefully managed. For most civilizations, these conditions would have been an insurmountable barrier to growth, dooming them to small, scattered settlements. But the High People were different. They understood that their strength, their very survival, depended on their ability to conquer these environmental adversities. They needed a way to cultivate a diverse array of crops, the vital lifelines like robust mountain tubers and sturdy grains, not just in isolated pockets, but consistently, reliably across their entire sprawling domain. They faced a paradox. How do you ensure agricultural stability in a region defined by instability? How do you grow temperate crops in alpine environments, or adapt high-altitude staples for warmer zones? They didn't just need farms, they needed a systematic, almost scientific approach to agriculture. They needed a place where they could learn, experiment, and ultimately engineer their food supply to thrive against all odds. Their survival literally hung in the balance, tied directly to their ability to innovate their way out of this monumental ecological bind. And so they built it. Not a fortress, not a temple, but something arguably far more crucial, a living, breathing agricultural research center, an open-air laboratory unlike anything the world had ever seen. They called it, in our reconstructed tongue, the Whispering Bowls, though perhaps the Great Incubator, or the Climate Forge, might be more accurate. Deep within a high mountain valley, they discovered natural sinkholes, vast depressions in the earth. To most, these might have seemed like inconvenient geological quirks. To the engineers and agronomists of the Sky Kingdom, they were a blank canvas, an invitation to monumental innovation. And what they sculpted from these natural formations is nothing short of breathtaking. Imagine stepping to the edge of a massive, perfectly circular amphitheater, not for gladiatorial contests, but for a silent, epic battle against nature. Tier after concentric tier, these terraces descend, sometimes over 100 feet deep, into the Earth's embrace. From above, they resemble giant fingerprints or ripples in a pond, an almost cosmic geometry etched into the landscape. Each level is meticulously crafted, each wall perfectly proportioned, forming a grand spiral that draws your eye and your imagination downwards. There are three major sets of these sunken gardens, the largest dominating the valley floor with its sheer scale. Their perfect circularity isn't just aesthetically pleasing, it's a crucial design element, a key to their profound functionality. This wasn't merely decorative landscaping. Every curve, every tier, every stone was placed with deliberate purpose, serving a grander scientific vision. The High People were not just farmers. They were geoengineers, bioscientists, and master planners, centuries ahead of their time. They didn't just adapt to their environment, they engineered it, reshaping the very earth to serve their needs. But how could simple earthworks achieve such a monumental feat? The answer lies in a concept we understand today as microclimates, and their astonishing ability to harness them. The true genius of the Whispering Bowls isn't just their striking appearance, it's the sophisticated environmental engineering embedded within their very structure. These weren't just terraces, they were a precision instrument designed to manipulate the fundamental forces of nature: temperature, sunlight, wind, and soil. Think of them as giant, open-air climate elevators, allowing ancient scientists to ascend and descend through different environmental conditions without ever leaving the valley floor. The key to this climate elevator effect was the dramatic temperature differential created by the depth and geometry of the sunken terraces. The temperature difference between the very top, exposed level and the deepest, most sheltered bottom could be astounding, up to 27 degrees Fahrenheit or 15 degrees Celsius. This wasn't a random fluctuation, it was an engineered phenomenon. How did they achieve this? Simple physics, masterfully applied. The deep, sunken design shielded the lower terraces from harsh winds and trapped solar radiation, creating a warmer, more stable environment. The upper terraces, exposed to the open sky and mountain breezes, remained cooler, mimicking the conditions of higher altitudes. As the sun traversed the sky, different sections of the circular terraces would receive varying degrees of direct sunlight and shade, further diversifying the microclimates. This meant that within a single, concentrated location, the High People had access to dozens of distinct growing conditions, from simulated coastal warmth at the bottom to high alpine chill at the top. It was like having an entire empire's worth of climate zones shrunk into a single walkable area. This profound understanding of thermal dynamics and landscape manipulation is a testament to their advanced scientific knowledge. But they didn't stop there. Their mastery extended beyond just air temperature. They understood that soil was the lifeblood of their experiments. Imagine gathering samples of Earth from across an entire empire, from fertile river valleys, from arid coastal plains, from mineral-rich mountain slopes. This is precisely what the High People did. Excavations at the Whispering Bowls reveal a deliberate, meticulous layering of different soil types within the terrace beds. This wasn't just local dirt. This was imported soil, transported sometimes hundreds of miles to create specific growing mediums on each level. Why such an immense undertaking? Because they understood that different plants have different nutritional needs, different tolerances for pH levels, and different requirements for drainage and aeration. By importing and strategically placing these varied soils, they could further customize the microclimates of each terrace. One level might have sandy, well-draining soil, ideal for a particular type of tuber, while another might feature heavier, more nutrient-rich loam for a specific maize variety. Each terrace became a precisely calibrated testbed, allowing for controlled experiments with an accuracy that modern agricultural scientists would envy. They were, in essence, engineering the very DNA of their agricultural experiments, controlling every variable possible to maximize their findings. This wasn't just farming, it was advanced pedology, the science of soil, practiced millennia ago. And given the often torrential downpours in the high mountains, controlling water was just as critical as controlling temperature and soil. Any architect knows that without proper drainage, even the most magnificent structure is doomed. In a region prone to intense seasonal rains, the sunken gardens would have quickly become waterlogged ponds, their intricate soil layers washed away, without an equally sophisticated water management system. And here, again, the High People demonstrated their unparalleled engineering prowess. Hidden within the terrace walls, beneath the surface of the perfectly manicured levels, lay a complex network of subsurface canals and gravel beds. This wasn't guesswork, this was precision hydrology. This intricate system allowed excess rainwater to drain efficiently and quickly, preventing waterlogging that could suffocate plant roots and ensuring the stability of the entire monumental structure. Imagine heavy downpours, the kind that can trigger massive landslides, yet these circular gardens remained pristine, their experimental integrity uncompromised. The gravel beds acted as natural filters and conduits, ensuring that water flowed freely without eroding the precious, specially imported soils. This ingenious drainage system was crucial for two primary reasons. First, it maintained the precise soil conditions required for each experiment, preventing nutrients from being leached away or delicate root systems from rotting. Second, it ensured the structural integrity of the terraces themselves. Building on such a scale, in a seismically active, high rainfall region, demanded an absolute mastery of civil engineering, and they delivered. Their ability to manage water, not just for irrigation, but for environmental preservation and structural stability, speaks volumes about their holistic understanding of their environment. They weren't just building farms, they were building sustainable ecosystems. So, with this incredible infrastructure in place, the climate elevator, the Earth's DNA, and the unsung hero of drainage, what exactly did the High People do in the Whispering Bowls? This was their premier research and development center, their agricultural think tank, where expert agronomists dedicated themselves to the most critical task of all, feeding an empire. Their primary function was rigorous crop experimentation. They systematically tested different varieties of their staple crops, the versatile potato, the majestic maize, the nutrient-rich quinoa, under each of the engineered microclimates. Which strain of maize thrived best in the warmest, most sheltered bottom terrace? Which variety of potato could withstand the colder, windier upper levels? They weren't just planting, they were collecting data, observing and drawing conclusions with a scientific rigor that predates modern scientific methods by millennia. Imagine detailed records, perhaps carved onto stone tablets or woven into complex knotted cords, documenting the performance of thousands of individual plant trials. Every observation was a step towards greater knowledge, every harvest a new insight. But the most profound function of the sunken gardens was acclimatization, the process of domestication but in reverse, or rather acceleration. They weren't just finding what grew where, they were making crops adaptable. By carefully moving seeds and young plants from the lower, warmer terraces to the higher, cooler ones over generations, they could selectively breed and adapt crops. This was genetic engineering without microscopes or gene splicing. It was a patient, generational process of natural selection guided by human intelligence. They were essentially creating hardier, more resilient strains of potatoes, maize, and quinoa, crops that could tolerate harsher conditions, extreme altitudes, and poorer soils. Imagine deliberately stressing a crop, pushing its genetic limits until it naturally evolved to withstand conditions that would kill its ancestors. This wasn't magic, it was applied evolutionary biology, ensuring that crops could be successfully cultivated in even the most marginal lands across their vast domain. The ultimate goal of the Whispering Bowls was not just scientific curiosity, but the tangible, life-sustaining benefit of optimizing crop yields and guaranteeing food security for an entire civilization. The research conducted within these circular walls directly translated into massive agricultural improvements across the Sky Kingdom. By identifying the most resilient and productive strains for various conditions, and by understanding how to best adapt crops to new environments, the High People could strategically distribute the optimal seeds and knowledge to every corner of their empire. This meant less crop failure, more consistent harvests, and ultimately a more stable and prosperous population. Imagine the power of knowing exactly which type of maize would flourish in a high mountain valley, or which potato variety would yield the most food in a lower, slightly warmer plateau. This knowledge was invaluable, a strategic resource as critical as any army or gold reserve. The Sunken Gardens weren't just a localized marvel, they were the engine room of an empire-wide agricultural revolution. They allowed the High People to feed millions, to expand their influence, and to sustain their complex social structures. Without this level of agricultural sophistication, their vast and powerful empire might never have risen, or certainly would not have endured for centuries. This was applied science directly serving the needs of an entire civilization, ensuring that the bounty of the earth could support the ambitions of a people who dared to build their kingdom in the sky. What the High People achieved at the Whispering Bowls stands as an enduring testament to their deep understanding of agronomy, ecology, and civil engineering. It showcases a profound scientific mindset, a willingness to experiment, and a long-term vision focused squarely on the sustainability and resilience of their society. They weren't just building for a season, they were building for centuries. In an age where we grapple with climate change, food insecurity, and the urgent need for sustainable agricultural practices, the lessons from these ancient sunken gardens resonate more powerfully than ever. They remind us that innovative solutions to complex environmental challenges can come from a profound respect for nature, a deep observational capacity, and the strategic application of knowledge. They understood the interconnectedness of soil, water, climate, and plant life long before these terms entered our modern scientific lexicon. Their methods were perhaps slow, patient, and generational, but they were incredibly effective. They remind us that sometimes the most advanced solutions aren't about cutting-edge technology, but about fundamental principles, careful observation, and a harmonious relationship with the natural world. So, the next time you hear about ancient civilizations, remember the High People and their Whispering Bowls. Remember that their ingenuity wasn't confined to grand temples or elaborate rituals, but extended to the very earth beneath their feet, meticulously sculpted and scientifically optimized to sustain a glorious empire against the formidable challenges of their mountain home. It's a powerful reminder that true progress often comes from those who dare to look at a problem no matter how vast, and envision a solution not just for today, but for countless generations to come.